Good morning. It's Tuesday, September 2nd, 2014. This is Tech Talk Today, episode 51. It's good to be back. I missed you. I hope you had a great Labor Day if it was applicable to you. I had a great Labor Day. Did some barbecuing. Wasn't too warm either, which is nice. But to help us come back, get our minds focused, realize it is time to get back to work and cover the news, I am joined by a council of highly concerned internet citizens. Good morning, Mumble Chat Room, or time-appropriate greetings.
Good afternoon.
UAD, Universal, UTAD, Universal Time Appropriate Disclaimer? What's UAD? That doesn't make any sense. All right, we got to start with the big story from this weekend. Everybody heard about the naked celebrity pictures that have been leaked, and security experts around the web over the weekend started to sort of zero in as iCloud, Apple's integrated cloud service to the iOS platform, as the suspected source of the leak. Over the weekend, hundreds of nude photos of celebrities were leaked on 4chan before spreading to multiple internet sites, with one of the involved hackers pointing towards iCloud as the source for the material. So now, of course, based on that and other bits of information, which I'll get into in a second, this has sort of become the popular theory online, and it's starting to look particularly suspicious because the rumored method that was used was also just patched by Apple. There's also something up on GitHub that would sort of enable this by going through Find My iPhone, where there was no automatic password lockout after too many invalid login attempts. However, if you dig through the data, and as some have pointed out, there's also the presence of Dropbox tutorial files in one of the hacked accounts, suggesting that perhaps third-party cloud storages were also used. And this, to me, sounds like, if I was just going to sort of speculate at this point, I would gather, based on just the amount of photos and all the different amounts of celebrities, and it seems like some of them didn't even come directly from the celebrities' phones, like some of them came from boyfriends of the celebrities' phones based on the EXIF data. And I would suspect that perhaps this was a collection that had been established over time. Some of these photos were from 2011, I think. I don't know all the details, but I think some of them were from 2011. Like Taylor Swift, for example, the EXIF data, when ran through those, the alleged Kate Upton pictures, sorry, I get them confused, found that they appear to have come from the boyfriend's phone and potentially through a different service. But maybe there was this entire collection that was all sort of compromised at once. And as you might suspect, after something like this, the FBI now says that they are investigating. The FBI is looking into this. They, quote, say, the FBI is aware of the allegations concerning computer intrusions and the unlawful release of material involving high-profile individuals, and we are addressing the matter. Any further comment would be inappropriate at this time, of course. Reddit sleuths, in the meantime, have accused Southern Digital Media sysadmin Brian F. Hamid of being the man who leaked the photos. This was based on some screen names that appeared in some screenshots that were posted online, as well as some network drives. I'm showing the screenshot up on the video version right now. Based on screenshots that were posted on Reddit and 4chan, there's the same network systems in the left-hand side of the Windows Explorer. Of course, the person denies this. He's this morning told BuzzFeed that he did not post the screenshots, and those screenshots were photoshopped, and entirely a possibility. Man, what a mess. And of course, Apple says they're also looking into this to try to figure out what's going on. They're actively investigating. They've released no other statement. This is a huge, huge breach for these ladies that had their photos, very private photos, leaked online. And it definitely looks like it's at least in somehow related to either iCloud or Dropbox backup or something like that. Something where you take the photos and a service in the background automatically saves them up on a server. It also sounds like at this point in time, the way that the attackers got access was by simply using a dictionary attack, password brute force over and over again, dictionary words, until finally something gave and they got access. They were able to do that because in the one if we're assuming the iCloud theory is correct, the way it plays out is there was a GitHub script that would just sit there and bang on the Find My iPhone login. Apparently, the one aspect of Apple's iCloud services that never fails you after a certain set amount of bad password attempts. Never does it. Just lets you keep going all day long. So you download this script, you attach a dictionary to it, you point it at the email address of a celebrity, and it just keeps on going until it logs in. Now, the details on how you would get these photos, to me, remain unclear, because there isn't a web interface or an API to iCloud, right? This is Apple. The only way you can get these photos, as far as I know, is if you were to connect a iOS device or a Mac with like iPhoto, I think, to the iCloud account. You logging in with those credentials, then you would have that person's IP, for example. Who knows what else gets submitted when you log in from an iCloud account? Then that person would have to connect to the photo database. These are just like databases up on iCloud. That's what these are. iCloud, it's a bullshit marketing term. It's 30 different services all interconnected by some sort of back-end bash scripting that they just give an umbrella term called iCloud. That's why Find My iPhone has different login parameters than the Mail program does, because they're not the same system. They use the same single sign-on. They're not the same technical systems. So when you download photos, you're downloading them from an online repository, and it's just in some sort of file store on their server, and the only way to get access to that, as far as I know, is by connecting an actual Mac or iOS device to that iCloud account and pulling them down to the computer. That has got to give a ton of information to Apple when you do that, A. And B, that also means that theoretically, these celebrities would have all have received notifications on their Apple devices saying, hey, this machine is just connected to your iCloud account, because there's no way to disable that. When you connect a machine to iCloud, it automatically sends a push notification to every device you have connected to your iCloud account saying, hey, FYI, we've just authorized a computer to your account. And if that's the case, could you imagine what these celebrities were thinking? Because some of these photos were from 2011 or back. And all of a sudden, years later, they start popping up online. What a violation. Out of nowhere, you just get blindsided by naked photos that in some cases they didn't even take of themselves from years ago, that they just happen to be taken on a phone that automatically backs it up to a cloud storage. So I don't know, Lionhead, what do you think? Is this finally going to wake people up about the risks of cloud storage?
I would definitely hope so. It's just astonishing that this kind of... Well, that you aren't even given an option to turn that crap off if you want to. And it's Apple. They should... Well, they inspire, for most people, quality and finesse. And this is just something a late weekend hacker would do to make a cloud service.
Well, how would this not happen to Google or Dropbox if you're just using if you don't elect to use two-factor authentication and you just use, love123 for your password? I mean, that's not Apple's fault, right? The not locking out thing, obviously Apple's fault. But poor passwords, that's just something that we do as just humans. It's just the way we do it. And all of these, every cloud service is vulnerable to that human factor.
Yeah, it is, and that's why we have things like LastPass and Keylogger, or things that just do the password thing for you. So you think of one hard password, and then you have a service to make all passwords hard to crack into.
Let me. I'll toss this to the general room, so anybody in the mumble room, just feel free to chime in here. But I've heard a couple of different takes on this. Number one is, well, if they didn't want us to look at these photos, they should have never taken them with a phone that uploads their photos to a cloud service. Of course, there's the opposite spectrum of that is like, it doesn't matter, you should never violate their privacy, you should never look at these photos. My question to the mumble room, and anybody can chime in on this, is that first one fair? If people don't quite fully understand the technology, it seems to me to be pretty easy to buy a smartphone today that is auto backing up, that you have no idea it's backing up those photos. And so you would go and do things that maybe if you did know, you would never do. Are we overlooking the possibility that perhaps these celebrities had no ideas their photos were even being backed up? Is that something they should... Is it their bad for not knowing better?
Do you get a chance to opt out of the auto backup function?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think you can not use... Like, my wife's iPhone, for example, doesn't use iCloud for anything.
Well, if they opted into the auto backup, then I put the blame on them.
I wonder if it's like when you're setting up the iPhone, it's like, would you like to back up to iCloud? And that's it. I think that's like the entirety of the prompt. I think. I haven't set up a lot, so I'm not sure. But to me, I'm not so sure we can blame them. I mean, in a way you should.
Breaches happen all the time. I mean, I wouldn't trust any of my photos with someone else's server.
Well, I mean, this is a theoretical conversation that Angela and I had last night as I was prepping for the show, and I said, like, we would never do these kinds of photos simply, even if we wanted to, simply because we would be too afraid that something like this would happen. So I'm on the opposite end, right? So these theoretically celebrities are on the end where they are maybe completely unaware. Like, you got to think about these people. They might even have assistants that set these things up for them and just say, okay, Mrs. Lawrence, here's your phone. Have a nice day, ma'am. Let me know if you need anything else with that. Or they have IT people. I mean, these people, right? They're walking businesses. They have people that work for them that do things for them. So we really have no idea how informed they are, or some of them are fully hands-on geeks, right? So we have no idea. But so they're on one end of the spectrum, where I'm on the other end of the spectrum, where I'm saying, no, we will never take any photos like that because of the possibility of something going wrong. And that's not very good either, because it's almost like when you're being watched by the NSA, you behave a little better, or like you think, oh, maybe I won't go to that dirty porn site now because I know they're monitoring DNS, something like that. And now, like, it's the same thing. It's like it's a form of self-censoring when you're aware of the possibility something could happen, or someone could be watching, and that's not good either, because that's not technology enabling me and enriching my life. That's technology locking me down, holding me down, making me paranoid. I mean, yes, I'm making me paranoid, but that's as a result of what this technology now does, I am uncomfortable with, and therefore am not comfortable using the technology for the things that I might potentially want to use it for, like pictures of my wang. So now there's no wang pictures. Sorry, everybody. Blame Apple. Just saying. I think this is an issue that I hope that we will not have to have too many more of these before we start to go, hey, maybe I want the phone that has the feature where nothing gets backed up offsite. Maybe I want the phone where all of the automatic backup happens to the SD card, and they include an application that makes really great backups to the SD card, and then I sync that to my physical hard drive, and I back that up over SpiderOak. Maybe that's never going to happen. But maybe if enough of these high-profile, embarrassing, extremely, extremely embarrassing leaks happen, maybe people will start to go, oh, yeah, maybe this cloud thing is just a fad. It's not so good. I'm not saying it's going to go away, but maybe we don't need to just integrate it into absolutely everything. I don't know. And the one last point I'll bring up on this story, which I find to be extremely fascinating as far as the timing goes, is on September 9th, there's a lot of smoke around this rumor fire that Apple is going to introduce a new payment system backed by American Express, Visa, and MasterCard using NFC. Yeah, NFC built into the new iPhone. I know. Rumors, everybody. But think about the timing of this. Here's Tim Cook. Good old Tim Cook's about to go up on stage and tell everybody about how you can trust Apple and pay for all your coffee and all your goods using your iPhone. Don't worry, Apple cares about your privacy. Don't worry, Apple's secure. Oh, yeah, except for those hundreds of nude photos that are everywhere, that everyone is talking about, that has the word iCloud in every single headline. Yeah, don't pay attention to that, but totally use us for our payment system. Boy, that is some sucky timing for Apple. You got to wonder if they're going to maybe restructure things in that keynote on the 9th. Maybe they're going to tweak things a little bit and emphasize how important security is to Apple. Maybe turn down the automatic photo backup. Maybe delay the introduction of the new Photos app that Apple's rolling out for the Mac that automatically stores all of your local Mac photos on iCloud. That's their new photo program. Local photo storage is done. They're on the Mac now. They're also going to do it just like they're doing on iOS. Maybe they pull that slide from the Yosemite introduction, just to keep the topic, just keep it off that topic. Just nobody talk about that. I mean, this is horrible timing for Apple. Any other, and also I feel awful for the celebrities that this happened to. It's an unfortunate violation. Mumble Room, any thoughts on that story before we wrap up?
So Apple does encrypt their stuff, but I think if you want to have ownership in the cloud, you need to encrypt it yourself and be the only one who has the key. Mm-hmm. So if they would encrypt it and put it in the cloud, you'd have a little bit more ownership of the pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the problem with some of these things, like the Google Auto Backup, the Dropbox Auto Backup, and the iOS Auto iCloud Backup. They literally take that data straight out of the camera roll. You snap that picture, and the background application grabs the photo and sends it up to the server. There's no spot where a user can stop and encrypt that data other than just electing not to use it, which I think technical people will do, but like we were just talking about earlier, a lot of these people don't even know they need to. Right? I would absolutely guarantee you that my mother has no idea that every photo she's taking is going to iCloud. And here's the worst part. For my mom, I can't think of a better system because I can't trust my mom to back up her phone properly. The only thing that kind of guaranteed to work is the cloud backup for my mom. And so hopefully she's not taking any dirty pictures. Double hopefully. Because what else am I going to do? It's either that or no backup. And there's no opportunity for encryption. God, wouldn't it be incredible if the people making these operating systems and making these services, if they were the same people, wouldn't that be incredible? And if somehow they could allow us to have control, like enable encryption. If only there was the technology to enable that. Maybe in the future. Next story, while we're on the Apple thread, this one really caught my attention. I did not really see this coming. I don't know why. You probably saw the headline over the weekend that AnandTech, you guys know Anand. He's if you don't, it's kind of an incredible story. I think Anand started doing technology reviews in his teenage years, like around 17 or something like that. Grew AnandTech to be one of the most respected technology review sites. Definitely when I go for like really in-depth CPU benchmarks on like smartphone devices or on desktop computers, AnandTech is where I've always gone. I've always really respected the really in-depth journalism that they've done there. And Anand Shimpi has announced that he's leaving AnandTech, and he's going to Apple. Yeah, he's going to be over at Apple. Not quite sure what he's going to do, but an Apple rep confirmed the company was hiring Anand. No other details were provided. Last night, via a post on his site, which he founded in 1997, Anand said he was officially retiring from the tech publishing world. He's made comments recently about how it's been kind of boring to him, but he didn't say what he's going to do next. He says, "I won't stay idle forever. There's future challenges out there." Turns out they're Apple challenges. AnandTech will continue publishing and will be run by a new editor, Ryan Smith. So there you go. Maybe, now that we just got done ranting about Apple, one thing I'll say about Apple is sort of when they switched over to Intel processors around that time for their Mac line, they kind of reformulated the way they do their CPU and battery benchmarks because they no longer had to bullshit about what PowerPC could do. And they've been surprisingly honest, but they have room for improvement. But I think right now, it sounds ridiculous, but I think right now Apple's benchmarks, like for battery life and CPU improvements and video improvements, are generally probably much better than any other manufacturer out there, like in terms of reliability and accuracy. But if Anand could come in, and if Anand could go to Apple and really, set the bar for just specs that they publish on the technical details page, that would be awesome for everyone, because then maybe some of the other PC manufacturers would see that and feel encouraged to step up and increase the accuracy and, give more details. Now let's move on to Microsoft. A thread that we've been following is Microsoft's problems in China. Go look at the back catalog of Tech Talk today if you're not caught up on all of that. So Microsoft's under an antitrust investigation in China, and some people speculate there's political motivations behind this. Wouldn't be too surprising. Here's the big rub now, though. Microsoft's been given 20 days by China to give them the deets that they need for this antitrust probe, or they might have to shut down operations. Now, they're not being so firm on that last bit, but they've got 20 days, so I think 19 as of right now, to reply to queries on the compatibility of its Windows operating system and Office suites amid probes into antitrust. China wants Microsoft to demonstrate that Microsoft's use of proprietary formats and, get ready for this, activation codes of Microsoft Windows and Office. They're saying, all right, Microsoft, prove to us that that's not monopoly behavior. Because from where we're sitting, it looks like monopoly behavior. Number one, makes it way harder to pirate your S, and we love doing that. Number two, it makes it crazy hard to have interoperability with other applications, and we think that you're making that hard on purpose. Give us the evidence. You've got 20 days. And this antitrust probe is actually getting kind of serious. Now, the State Administrator for Industry and Commerce questioned the Microsoft Vice President David Chen and gave the company the deadline in just a short statement. According to the state media report on Monday, Microsoft's use of verification codes has also spurred complaints from Chinese companies. So I guess some industry is also putting pressure on the government to go after Microsoft over these activation codes. Their use may have violated China's anti-monopoly law, according to the official state news agency on Monday. They didn't have Labor Day in China, so they were busy going after Microsoft. Boy, a couple of rough Labor Days for Microsoft and Apple. Last but not least, just one more Microsoft story before we scoot. We got to run because we went a little long on the first story. Microsoft is refusing to turn over those emails that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. The Irish drug trafficker, the U.S. government wanted to get access to his OneDrive and email accounts. Microsoft said, hey, man, you don't have jurisdiction over there. That's Ireland. And they said, whatever, you're a U.S. company, you go do it. Well, the court came back and said, no, Microsoft has to hand over that data. We don't care if their servers are in Ireland and the user's Irish. Doesn't matter. Microsoft handed over. And you know what? Microsoft said, go F yourself. Yeah, it's kind of unbelievable. And Microsoft said they will not be complying, and they will be trying to do an appeal. Of course, if the appeal falls through, well, they'll probably have to hand it over. But here's the best part. The federal government, the U.S. federal government, where the Constitution was birthed and all that, the government says that the order is not appealable at this stage, and that Microsoft must hand over the data by Friday. The disagreement, and there is a fundamental disagreement at this point over Microsoft's basic path to appeal. And they say this is a subject of hot dispute that other companies are also fighting right now. And so Microsoft has just been pulled into a massive fight over all of this stuff. Can we trust them, Mumble Room? Are they going to be there for us, or do you think they're going to cave?
They have a strong position, and I don't think they're going to cave unless they get daily fines of significant proportions.
I think they will cave. I think because they've taken this probably as far as they can to make a public statement. This will be the real true tell, actually. Maybe not, but this will be an indicator. If Microsoft truly fights this and goes all the way to the mat, then there's something there we can potentially trust. If they fold, then I say it was all just for show. A very public show. A very public show that they need badly after getting decimated by those leaked Edward Snowden slideshows that show Microsoft as number one right there on the PRISM list. So they've taken such a privacy beating, right? So if they could make a real public fight with the federal government, and it's over drug stuff too, which isn't that great. The guy's probably like a pot dealer. So that's just even more of a win because everybody loves pot right now. So Microsoft's fighting for the pot guy. And then they'll fold. That's my suspicion. But if they don't fold, maybe it'll actually show us they're serious about trying to make sure that international customers' data is safe. Because at the end of the day, that's the final statement. Whatever Microsoft does here, if they protect this user, then they are making the statement that their international customers they will fight for. If they fold, I think they're essentially telecasting to their international customers, you can't trust your data with Microsoft.
Connect this with the China story.
Yeah, right? I wonder, too, if there isn't some background political pressure from China to get access to data from Microsoft, and this is sort of like the tactic they're using to push their hand, essentially. It's a possibility. Interesting times. And the other thing that's been interesting about these stories is we've kind of been following a lot of this now for several weeks, and every week there's been a little bit of a change, a little bit of progression. I think this iCloud hacking story could go huge. I mean, it's already huge. I think it could go massively huge. The other thing that I think would make it blow up is if it is confirmed that other cloud storage services were also breached, because that would sort of be sending the message all cloud services essentially are vulnerable to the same flaw, and that flaw is humans pick bad passwords, on average. And the fact that some of these leaked photos had Dropbox tutorial files in them is a kind of an indicator that might be the possibility. Plus, really all of these celebrities had iPhones. Really none of them had Android phones. Like, that doesn't quite compute either, right? But we'll see. I don't know. It's a story we'll obviously keep following on Tech Talk today. Just a bit of a programming note, though. Won't be here tomorrow. No show from me tomorrow, no Unfilter or Tech Talk. We will be doing makeups on Friday. So if you're not normally here on a Friday, I invite you to join. Angela and I will do a Tech Talk today on Friday to make up for our Miss Wednesday recording. And Unfilter will probably be in the evening that Friday. Tomorrow is my son Dylan's first day of school. And I want to be there when he gets on the bus, and I want to be there when he gets off the bus. So I'm taking the day off. It's kind of like an end of summer thing. I don't take much time off. So this last couple of weeks I know have been a little bumpy, but we'll be back to our regularly scheduled shenanigans. next week. Normally, I would say, hey, support the show over at patreon.com/today and the whole network. This time, I want to give a special shout out to a friend of the network, Aaron Saigo, who has launched his own Patreon campaign where he's going to create the Illuminosity of Free Software show based on backers over on his Patreon page. And I think Patreon is an amazing platform. And I think when you combine it with the right content creator, then you really have something. Like Kickstarter, sometimes you back a project and it goes nowhere. Sometimes you back a project and you actually get that product. I think that's true about Aaron Saigo. I think if you back Aaron Saigo's page, I think you're going to get the product you're backing. And I think that's what's key. And I think that's what makes for a successful Patreon campaign, and I think he's got it. So you can go over to patreon.com/LOFS. I'll have a link to it in the show notes too. That stands for Luminosity of Free Software. He's got a video up there that talks about what he wants to do and why he's doing it. He's got 11 patrons right now, and he's also got his goals up here. So this is just another opportunity to get some great free software-based discussion, insights. Aaron's extremely well, he's got tons and tons of experience, extremely well experienced in free software, in open source culture, in the industry. So, anytime you get somebody that has some great insights, going out there, talking about what they think about, talking about the issues of the time, even if you agree or disagree with them, I think it's a great contribution to the dialogue, so you can help him do it. Patreon.com/LOFS. And we'll also have a link to it in the show notes. Good luck, Aaron. I also became a patron. I am a patron of the Luminosity of Free Software. Okay, guys, we'll wrap it up right there. Won't be here tomorrow. Apologies about that, but we will be back on Thursday and Friday. So you're still going to get more shows, just not tomorrow. I hope you have a great Wednesday, though. We will have BSD Now on the live stream, and we will have Unfilter on Friday, just a little bit later, because, gosh, it's crazy how much stuff is going on in the world. So I thought, let's center ourselves. Let's remember we do have a solution. We're not dependent on Microsoft or Google or Apple or Dropbox to solve our security problems. No, in fact, we can find inspiration from the original selfie cam. It turns out there is a way to take pictures that you can keep for yourself and never go up to the cloud. It's revolutionary, and it was the first selfie cam.
Beat the swinger, all-right swinger. It's more than a camera, it's almost alive. It's only $19.95. Swing it up, it says yes. Take the shot, count it down, zip it off. Beat the swinger, all-right swinger. Beat the swinger, all-right swinger. Swing it up, it says yes. Take the shot, count it down, zip it off. Hey, meet the swinger, all right swinger, meet